Most people have to go to work, but what if your work could go with you wherever you went? Maybe you follow one of those vloggers who seems to be in a different country every month, or one of those internet people who says they work from a beach in Thailand, and now you're like that lady from Napoleon Dynamite. You're like,
I want that.
or maybe you just want to work from home and not go to an office every day. Either way, I want to cover what you can do to start building that kind of a work-life balance in this video. So before we get started, let's address the elephant in the room, which is that I'm in my room, in my apartment in Denver, Colorado. I'm not a full-time traveler, and I'm certainly not making this video from a beach in Thailand. I prefer to get my horrible sunburns on top of mountains. But for the past 5 years, I have had the ability to travel and work basically whenever I want. And in those years, I've gone to Japan 3 times, I've gone to New York City, Portland, San Diego, San Francisco, Austin, a ton of different cities around the country, and I've been able to work and have fun in each one of them. Now, before any of you cynical people start typing away in the comments, no, I am not a trust fund baby. My parents don't pay for me to travel the world. In fact, they weren't even able to contribute to my college fund at all, so I've had to do this on my own. And the way that I do it is through building a business that I can work on from anywhere, but that's not the only solution. So I want to give you a few starting points in this video, and I want to tackle 2 main topics. Number 1, the cost of traveling, doing it full time or just doing it on a irregular basis, and also how to make money while doing it. The first thing I want to cover here is the cost of traveling, because while it does definitely cost money to travel, and for some people it can be very expensive, it's not as expensive as you might think. And I just want to jump into a concrete example here to illustrate this. So if you go to nomadlist.com, you can see a bunch of different statistics on all sorts of cities that are good for digital nomads, those kind of people who roam the world with their laptops doing all kinds of different work that can be done from basically anywhere. And Nomad List is a great resource because it can give you tons of information on these cities, including their estimated costs of living. And I want to do a quick comparison here. So let's take the number 1 city over on Nomad List, Budapest, Hungary. They have 2 different cost of living scores on this site. There's the nomad price and then there's the local price. So in Budapest, the nomad price is just over $1,000 per month. And that is if you're staying in cheap hotels every single day, eating out 3 times a day, basically living the life of a traveler, just over $1,000 a month. Now, for a lot of people around the world, that is certainly a lot of money, but if you live in a big city, especially like here in the US, that's actually kind of cheap. Let's compare that to Denver, Colorado, where I live, and the local cost of living is over $1,800 a month. So if you were to travel around the world in cities like Budapest, or even cheaper cities like Bangkok, Thailand, you would be spending $800 per month less than you would be spending to live the life of a local in Denver. The other thing is prioritization. I know a lot of people who have single location lifestyles who have expensive apartments, they have car payments, they eat out a lot at restaurants, they've got the new video game that comes out every single month. That is an example of prioritization that costs a lot of money. And if you were to travel around the world and spend, a little bit of money on hostels every night and plane tickets, yes, that does cost money, but it could actually end up being cheaper than that single location lifestyle. And a good example of this are my friends Sid and Mackie, who are pro mountain bike racers. They actually live in a van and travel all around the country and also to other countries as well. And they don't make a whole lot of money, but they're able to do it because they have their priorities geared towards travel. So if you want to do this, ask yourself, what could I give up to make my lifestyle cheaper and to enable travel? Now, the one big advantage that my single location friends have is the ability to go to a job and actually, make money to support their expensive lifestyles. So if you want to travel or if you don't want to go to an office every day, how do you do that? Well, there are 2 main, pretty obvious options. There's the employed route and there is the self-employed route. And I'm going to give you some specific tips for each one in just a second here, but there is one overarching factor that applies to both of them, and that's that you need to build portable skills. When most people think of portable skills, they're thinking of computer skills, web design, graphic design, programming, writing, editing, all that kind of stuff. And for the rest of this video, I am going to focus on those sort of digital nomad skills that you can do from anywhere. But I do want to make a quick point that there are other options out there as well. In fact, Matt from expertvagabond.com has an entire article on all the different kinds of jobs you can do as a traveler, and he breaks them down into 3 different categories. There's the expat jobs, the vagabond jobs, and the digital nomad jobs. Expat jobs are basically the kind of jobs where you move to another country and you find a regular job there. A good example is teaching English. And if you wanted to go to Japan, say, you could get involved in the JET program, which allows you to teach English in public schools while living in Japan. That's a great way to get experience living in that country and interacting with the locals. On the vagabond side, you have jobs that aren't really based on computer skills. These are things like working on farms through programs like woofing or working at hostels. And as somebody who's been in Japan many different times, I have firsthand experience seeing people who worked at hostels and got free lodging and pay sometimes in exchange. However, the most flexible kinds of jobs, either self-employed or employed, are going to be those digital nomad type jobs. Basically, anything you can do from a computer or from the internet is going to allow you a lot of flexibility in where you are when you do that work. Now, you do have your usual suspects, like I said, web design, programming, all that stuff. There's also social media management, customer service for startups, all those kind of jobs, but there are also other options out there that you might not think of. For example, my friend Gretchen is a tutor for high school and middle school students, and she can do that from Skype. And my friend Ryan from Medical School HQ helps pre-med students with their medical school applications. Again, that can be done through Skype and through email and other tools, so he could do it from anywhere. All right, so now we are getting into specific tips for each individual path. And I want to start with the employed path, working for somebody else. So if you want to either work from home while being employed or be able to travel while you work, I have a couple of specific tips for you. The first one is to look for remote-friendly companies. Here's the thing, a lot of companies out there are looking to build a very specific culture where they're building face-to-face teams that have in-person interaction. And other companies just might want to control the work environment or the tools you use or your schedule. But there are a lot of other companies out there that are embracing a remote-first approach. For example, Buffer, which is a company I've been following for about 6 or 7 years now and use myself, it's a social media scheduler. They have over 80 people all over the globe, tons of different time zones, and some of their employees actually travel full-time while doing work for them. So if this is something that you want to do, look for companies that have a remote-friendly culture. And there are actually several websites online where you can go to look for remote-only jobs, including remotebase.io, remote.co, and weworkremotely.com. The other thing you can do is to simply ask about the company's culture during the interview. Ask them if they have anybody who works from home or anybody who's ever worked while traveling, and if they'd ever be open to that situation. Because if that's something you want to do, you need to figure out if that company's culture is going to be a fit. Remember, an interview is not just an audition. It's not just an audience with some all-powerful recruiter that you prostrate yourself in front of. It is a negotiation between two parties who are trying to figure out if they can work well together. The other huge thing to consider is that any sort of arrangement where you're traveling and working creates uncertainty for your potential employer. You're no longer in the building, you're not working on their schedule, you're possibly halfway around the world in a different time zone with unreliable internet. And that can make them a little bit uncertain as to whether you're going to actually be able to deliver on what they need you to do. So you're going to need to build trust and prove your value before you ask for something like this. And unfortunately, you're not always going to be able to build that trust through the strength of your portfolio or through the interview. Sometimes it just takes time and putting your dues in. I found a great example of this concept over on Hacker News when I found a thread called Best Place to Look for Remote Jobs, and the top comment read like this. An old colleague of mine who'd worked at an LA-based tech company for 10 years went to hand in his resignation. He was moving to Charlotte so he could be with his girlfriend. His boss begged him to stay. He could even work remotely. My friend took the deal. He lives in Charlotte now and flies to LA every 2 or 3 months. The best place to look for remote jobs is to talk to people who have worked with you in the past and trust you. The other main route for being able to travel and work at the same time is the self-employed route. And this is the one that most people think of. This is the one that all those internet gurus sitting on beaches in Bangkok, are there beaches in Bangkok? Are trying to sell you courses on how to do, and it is what I do. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. Now, my particular business model is content creation. I spend most of my time making YouTube videos and blog posts and podcasts for you guys, but my business model comes through advertising and brand deals. So I'm essentially selling access to my audience to these companies. And the disadvantage there is that this takes a long time to do. It took me about 2.5 years to build up my audience to the point where I could actually make enough money to pay my expenses. And that's why, while this is definitely something you can do if you're passionate about making videos or making podcasts or whatever, it's not exactly the best option for being able to create a situation where you can travel and work in the short term. For that, you're gonna wanna find a situation where you can apply your skills in such a way that a small group of clients or customers can pay for most of your expenses. And that's why I think freelancing is a great option. If you have a skill, maybe web development, programming, writing or editing, or anything else that you can do from the internet, and if it's valuable enough that a small group of people could pay your bills, then you could spin that up pretty quickly and then get on the road. Now, freelancing is a huge topic, so we can't talk about it too much in this video, but I do have an article over on my site, College Info Geek, called The Ultimate Guide to Freelancing in College. And even if you're not in college, this article will be helpful for you. It goes through how to pick your skill, how to find clients, how to reach out to those clients, how to set prices, all that good stuff. So definitely check out the link in the description below if that is something that's interesting to you. A couple of additional resources before I leave you today. First, some recommended reading. And the first one is The Personal MBA by Josh Kaufman. Now, this book is not a travel book. It's not a vagabonding book. It's nothing so niche. It's more an overall introduction to most of the main concepts in business. Value creation, value delivery, marketing, sales, all that kind of stuff. And while that may sound a little bit boring to you right now, I think that any student and any person in the working world should read this book, because when you have a better grasp of business as a whole, you're gonna understand the incentives that drive your boss or your clients, which in turn makes you a better freelancer or employer. And when you increase your skills in either of those categories, you increase your ability to do things like travel and work at the same time. The other book is Vagabonding by Rolf Potts, and this is the full-time travel book. This is the book to read if you want to be going all over the world to multiple different countries. I read this when I went to Japan a few years ago, and it was very helpful for me. And it does have a chapter on financing your travels, but it also answers lots of other questions, like how to pick where to go, where to stay once you're there, all sorts of stuff like that. So it's definitely a good resource. Some of the links are kind of outdated in it, but as a whole, the information is good. And my last recommendation is for any of you who are interested in starting to freelance, because my friend Roberto Blake, who has a channel here on YouTube, has a ton of great videos that you're gonna wanna check out, and I'm gonna put a card to one of his videos right there. Definitely go subscribe to his channel if you wanna learn how to do that. You can also subscribe to my channel right there if you haven't done so already, and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. You can also find that Ultimate Guide to Freelancing article right there, and another one of my videos right there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.